Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reaper Wargaming podcast. We are here today to talk about the recent RTT that happened up in Glasgow in our club. Another sold-out event, another sold-out competition in Scotland. So we've got our president, Dave, on today just to talk about how that event went. He played in it, so he can give us some of the idea of how he felt it went. And we'll go over the sort of the top three lists and kind of what made them so strong. Was it a surprise? Was it not? We'll hit all of those things as well. But without further ado, we'll start the way we always start. Just, Dave, tell us what is happening in the club over the next couple of weeks, over the next month.
So it's nice to be back on. We've had, as you say, a great run of events so far, and we have our next event lined up for the end of this month, which is a Halloween event. It's set to be quite unique. It's a Highlander event, it's called, inspired by the famous movie. There can be only one. So that kind of trickles down into how the event runs, and you can only have one of each non-battle line unit in your army. Because of that, we dropped the points down as well. So instead of 2,000 points, it's 1,750.
Cool.
Creates for just a more fun, kind of interesting meta on the day. It adds a real kind of level of creativity. It prevents, obviously, the natural kind of meta spam that you might get for some factions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but the other big part of the event that we're hoping to encourage people to come along to is fancy dress is strongly encouraged. There will be bonus points, bonus prizes given out on the day for that. So
and if that's not a reason to come, I don't know.
Yeah,
what is a reason?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'm going to be at another event down south, but the folk that we have involved are going to take the lead on that event, or I've got it handled, and tickets have started to sell now, which is awesome.
Perfect.
And so, the big thing is though, like we are now very fast approaching tickets going live for our next GT, which will take place in the middle of November. In the middle of November, so I've already had people like inundating us with messages on like, when's your next big event? When's your next big event? You know, they've saw we're doing some fun stuff, but people want those big competitive events. So it's really exciting to know that people want to travel and make the effort and come to our events. So really looking forward to getting those tickets on sale as well. And based on the messages I've had so far, I think that'll sell out real quick.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, it's just having more big tournaments north, I think, is what people are after, you know what I mean? And more regular access to it rather than just having, okay, I now need to wait till the next massive GT, or I now need to wait for the next like 100+ person event.
Yeah.
You know, these are events that are really quite intimate, which is great. You know, there's lots of space, there's lots of fun, as well as just being a really competitive vibe as well. People are seeing how well organized they are. Everything's there for you. Like, it's just not outside of obviously bringing your army and writing your list. There's not a lot that competitors themselves need to bring to the events at Reaper, which I think is a massive plus for your ticket price. Like, you are getting everything there on the table ready for you to use, and I think that's an awesome plus to it as well.
Yeah. Well, and on that though, we're looking to invest further. Like, we've got ambitions to obviously increase the number of tables at our events, and also just to go that extra mile. We're hopefully going to eventually get most of the tables, if not all the tables, will have, like, we'll provide the objective markers for them and things like this. So, like, you can be quite new to the game and have not invested in some of these things that you'll see on streams and stuff. And it just puts everyone on that level playing field. It takes some of that financial burden away for people who are kind of new to the hobby and new to going to events and stuff, where you learn very quickly as someone that's been to some of these massive tournaments that you realise, oh, I'm really organised, and then you discover that, oh no, like my little objective token isn't as helpful in kind of managing the game as the objective mats, just as like a great example.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're working towards having them for everybody as well, and it's just, it'll be a nice extra bonus.
Yeah, honestly, objective mats should be just what everyone uses, you know what I mean? Because it's so clear if you're on a mat or you're not on a mat. There's none of this, oh, let's measure and we're all talking about it. It's just they're either on the objective mat or they're not on the objective mat. And that's that. So yeah, I'm a big advocate for the objective mat. So RTT just happened, talking about competitions. We just had one 2 weekends ago now.
Yep, 2 weekends ago.
And what we are going to speak about today is just going to Dave to tell us about how that event went, how he felt his list did, how you got on as well, Dave. Like, I want to know a little bit about that. And then also just talking about the free top lists and our thoughts around those. I've got them sitting here as well, so I can see what exactly they are. And if you are joining us from Twitch, which I can see a bunch of people are, which is always awesome, we love that interaction, please just write in your comments. We can see them and we will try and answer any questions that you have. But yeah, Dave, how was the event? Just the general event itself, how did you feel it went?
So that, for me, like from an organiser's perspective, I think that's got to be the most flawless event we've ever had from start to finish. Everything kind of ran on time. Everybody was really organised. Everybody turned up early. We had that was our first real test of an event when there's a home game on at Ibrox as well. For those that kind of don't know, like our venue is in the shadow of the stadium, and that puts a real strain on like our own organisation and planning and logistics. Even just something as trivial as making sure lunch is there on time, because like roads get closed off, and so there was a lot of headaches. And I'm really chuffed at the way that it all just panned out, nice and smooth on the day. We had zero issues. Everybody got in safe. Everybody got out safe. Everybody had, from what I saw, a great day. And we had our second ever champion, because back-to-back champion Brian Seep wasn't there. And so we have a new event champion. He's somebody who's been to all of our events as well, and is a familiar face to a lot of people down at the club, and that's Chris Chung. So he's our new champion. Yeah, well deserved as well. By the way, when I go back and pull up BCP, he dropped 3 battle points all day.
Oh my god! That is like nearly a blooming perfect.
Yeah, so he was 97 points in his first round, and then spent the rest of the day scoring hundreds. So big up Chris for that. That's no mean feat. Not only did he go undefeated,
and what I'll say,
he just ran up the scores.
Yeah, and what I'll say is that if anyone is proof of repping an army to get amazing at them, Chris is proof of that. He is like ultramarine loyal, and hey, this is the result. Like he knows that army in and out. Like I have had the pleasure of, well, maybe the displeasure of playing against Chris's army, and just seeing just how well he understands the army, knows them. He doesn't need anything to tell him what they do, you know what I mean? Because he's just repped them so much, and it's just so impressive as well. And it would be interesting to kind of understand how he enjoys the game, as in the competition itself, having such a good understanding and not. I'm trying to find the right words about saying. I wonder how stressed he gets, if you know what I mean, because he's not having to be like trying to find the rules. Or for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, what's the toughness of that person and all these kind of stuff. Where Chris just knows it all with the Ultramarine, so it must mean that he can use a lot more of his energy on the strategy than worrying about stat lines and numbers and stuff like that. I think that is a proper good example of repping an army. and what happens through that as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like you've got the nail on the head there. Like Chris is one of these guys who he slams the reps with Ultramarines, but he also just plays in such a good way. Like he's a great person just to have like a gaming experience with, because he's just so positive at the table. He always talks you through what he's trying to do or what he's looking to do. He always checks, can he do the thing he wants to do? He doesn't just like go, I'm going to do this and then check and then go, oh well, no, we'll go back. No. It's like he has a look at the table. He kind of looks and understands, because, as you say, he's got those repetitions. He understands his rules, and he knows where his things have to be to do the job. And it's like he's mastered how you use Gilliman at this point and get the maximum efficiency out of him, which is really, really cool to see.
Yes. So how do you feel that your list went? How did you feel your day went?
So I had an interesting day. I don't think I did as well as I would have hoped. Votan. So I was running Votan, and I was there was some jokes in the previous podcast about me running Votan. But they ended up digging some holes for me, and kind of burying themselves in them rather than doing the fun stuff. So my first round played into Chaos Space Marines, and that was a really close game. And then went into a Votan mirror match. So there's only 2 Votan players turned up, and we get the mirror match. So that was really helpful.
Oh, God.
And my opponent had more bikes and basically was able to scout move a bit more aggressively and get first turn. Yep. And at which point he just, like, in the mirror match, whoever goes first and whoever can get up the table furthest first just dominates the mirror match. And Nick played a great game, and that's kind of how that one went. And then in my third round, and by the way, Nick's a guy from Team Scotland, so Nick's a really experienced player.
Yes.
He knows exactly what he's doing. And then round 3, I played into Matty, who is also on Team Scotland, and he was running a pretty nasty Custodes list full of Terminators and the little Venatari guys. They're basically the kind of Angel Wings guys from Forge World. Yep. And he basically null deployed me. I took the entire table, and I felt quite confident. I was like, oh, brilliant, I've got all this table, I can do all this stuff. And then every time anything touched me, it just vanished. Just disappeared.
That's great.
And I was like, wow, okay, didn't see that coming. I thought I had like layers of defense and kind of things to throw at him and keep scoring points. And he just came steamrolling at me, and I was like, this is insane. It was a fun game, learned some stuff. I've made some changes to my Votan list, that's for sure. And I'm really excited to keep playing them. And I've played a couple other games since then.
Yeah.
Votan are a really interesting faction just now, and one to keep an eye out for.
And the thing is, as well, is like, you haven't repped Votan for a bit. You're kind of in between different lists and stuff like that. So it's the right mentality to have a competition that maybe it didn't go the way that you wanted it to, but you saw that as a learning opportunity to say, okay, this is what worked. This didn't work, rather than just being like butthurt and being like, oh, I didn't win, like being a bit sour about it. It's more like, okay, I understand why it happened, and these are the changes that I can make. Like that's a good mentality, because it can be shitty losing, but it's about how you frame it or reframe it in a positive way as much as you can. And I think that's a good way to look at it,
Well, yeah, like I've come off, basically that's my first event this year that I didn't run Space Marines. So I've been to 8 tournaments this year so far, and that's the first one where I've not ran Space Marines, specifically Space Wolves. So like it's been a big culture shift, and like, I've had a few months of having the joys of Oath the Moment and full rerolls and all these things, and I'm having to kind of change how I play, but it's also given me a great perspective on how to play the game differently and areas I can improve when I do play with Space Marines, which I'm starting to see, which is good. I would highly recommend it. Like, play, even just borrow a friend's army for the night and try and just play from scratch. Yes. And you realise, like, you've got room to grow, and it's really positive.
Yeah. And yes, we've got a load of people in the chat right now, including who I assume is Chris Chung, as it would be very surprising if there was someone with Chung within their username and it wasn't Chris Chung. So hello and congratulations, Chris. And essentially he's saying, unfortunately, his list is no longer going to be potentially Codex compliant. So that's unfortunate. But going into the lists, we had 2 ultramarine lists hitting the top 1 and 2, which is that a surprise, Dave? Are you surprised that that's what happened? Or obviously we talked a little bit about Chris. I don't personally know Stephen, but congratulations to Stephen, 2nd place. That's amazing. Especially with we talked a little bit in the podcast last time around how a lot of the more well-known players are at the LGT, the London Grand Tournament, but that doesn't mean that there weren't still really top-end players playing in this tournament. Team Scotland was mentioned literally twice there. So, were you surprised with the Ultramarines, Dave?
No, let's face it, Ultramarines for these last couple of days still have access to basically double at the moment. Like Gilliman, before the new Codex comes out, is still one of the best models that you can put in a list in the game. He's so strong. He gives you so much utility. He really pushes that army further. And when you have a unit that can backbone your army like that, and you then put it in somebody who's got those repetitions, who understands how to use that character, like there's no reason to. I'm not surprised. I mean, Chris has been kind of 2-1 at every RTT. I think he was either 3-2 or 4-1 at the last GT. He's been like climbing up. He's always been in like the top 10, give or take. And yes. Marines are always a good, for the most part, they're always a good faction. They always have a build. It's really about how you take advantage of them. And what was really interesting is that, Chris's list is
very battle line focused, very troop focused.
Like, he took great advantage of having the whirlwind in there instead of Desolation Marines. He switched from that to that. He's got a really good use of like just utility units, some small heavy intercessor units. The Gladiator Lancer is a great little unit. It's really efficient. It gets his own rerolls. It doesn't have to. So he's got some units in there that can kind of go off and do their own thing and be quite efficient. And then he's got other units that can. These Plasma Inceptors are great. I like Plasma Inceptors. You can bring one of them in a turn within 3 and just like blow something off the table if they're not careful. Really good for like sniping lone ops that might be like in the backfield. And then obviously he's got the Hellblaster brick is really strong just now. Being able to shoot on death and stuff it's really powerful. And he's just not to flog a dead horse, but like he's so practiced with this list, and obviously especially on this format now, because we always run the UKTC format even on club nights if people want to practice events. So like he knows the missions at this point, and it's just really great to see actually. Marnius Calgar being able to like stack things up. Uriel Ventress and it was an interesting choice, and I didn't really understand what he did. I'm going to just pull that up for just a second because I thought Ventress was an interesting choice. Where's he gone? I had him here a second ago on the app.
So in the chat, Chris is saying Euro Ventress Deep Strike in 10 Hellblasters was MVP.
There you go. There you go. Master of the Fleet. What a great rule, right?
Yeah.
During the battle formation step, if you include this model, you can select one Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army, and it gains the Deep Strike ability.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And it's a bit and you just think of the amount of like unit Space Marines have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought to put that with some Hellblasters, but it clearly works. As he's shown that it does,
Yeah.
The results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
He was quite character heavy, and it's paid off.
Yeah, 100%.
And what's really interesting is the contrast between Chris's list, which is, boots on the ground, like
Yeah,
very much boots on the ground. We're going to play a very specific way. And then you contrast that with Stephen's list.
that's literally what I was going to say. It's the opposite, pretty much. It's like
Yeah.
vehicles on the ground.
Yeah. So, in contrast to what is a very heavy on the infantry, they both have Gilliman.
Yep.
And then what Stephen has is a couple of squads of Terminators, and then basically 6 Dreadnoughts that all have a 2-up save. He's
Wild.
basically triple Ballistus Dreadnought, triple Redemptor, and he threw in an Assassin as well just to kind of pop at some characters. But that's just a stat check right there. Like, if you don't have the big guns, if you don't have the high AP, you just can't deal with 6 Dreadnoughts right now.
No.
Especially with the way they get cover, and they interact with Armor of Contempt and these things. It's just, and then the -1 damage. There's so many things stack onto Dreadnoughts that just makes them really formidable. And again, Stephen had a couple of really high scoring games. Like, he had two games where he scored 91 points. Like, that's in this new edition, like, that's like, to break 90, you have to play a really good game.
Yeah.
And it's, so you just have to kind of tip your hat there. But again, that's somebody that's been able to really take advantage of that Gilliman Castle.
Yes.
But it shows you, I think, the Space Marine
100%.
Codex, that you can have two versions go totally different ways and perform so high.
Yeah. And they both had the Cladus Assassin as well. So what's that? Why would that be in a list for the Ultramarines?
So she's just a great choice. She's got the ability to, in your opponent's turn, you pick her up off the table, and when you get to your next movement phase, she gets to deep strike back into the game. So depending on the cards you draw or the missions you're trying to do, like, if, for example, you're getting ready to deal with something in a corner. Okay, you deal with that thing in the corner, you're now stuck there, and she just deep strikes onto the objective, like, boom. Or, okay, you can apply pressure further at the table, the midboard's empty, cool, boom, you just drop her in there. Or you've drawn investigate signals or deploy teleport homers, like something that involves being in your enemy's deployment zone. She's on a tiny base, and she just drops in and does what she wants, and scores you points.
Yep.
And if you leave like a soft kind of infantry unit in the backfield, she is a blender. Like, she'll come in and she will blend them up,
just picking them up.
And then again,
is there any scenario right now where you wouldn't take Gilliman? Is he like a must take in a list? Is he like a you just have to have him?
I think if you want to run Ultramarines, and you want to do a bit of Hero Hammer, he's been a no-brainer. He's been an auto include, I think, since this edition launched. I think that might be about to change. We'll see. There's like whispers of point changes and different things coming with this new Space Marine Codex that's literally a few days away now. We've had some rules teased. There's been some rules leaked. Some of it's really interesting. Some of it is absolutely terrifying. Yeah, but it's all going to come out. There'll be 101 YouTube videos and podcasts come this weekend for people to understand what I mean here. But this is me putting on my prophecy of Iron Hands are coming back, and they're coming back to ruin your Warhammer experience.
Perfect.
It's not Warhammer without a broken Iron Hands list for a while, is it?
No. We literally, it was like the end of 9th, wasn't it? It was like Iron Hands again, broken.
Yeah.
It just happens. You just have to expect it, And as we said, as these codexes start rolling out, we'll start seeing big power spikes for certain factions, certain armies. Surprisingly, didn't happen so much with the NIDs, but definitely we'll see what happens with the Space Marine Codex. Space Marine, they're the poster boys of Games Workshop. They're going to put a lot of effort into their rules. They want, to be honest, to sell the models, and there's loads of them. So,
well, yeah, my hot take on that is that at some point in maybe the next 6 to 9 months, we're going to get like our 10th edition supplements that go along with this edition. And I expect something nasty for Leviathan to stack. I expect some sort of Tyranid supplement that's going to stack with one or two of these existing Tyranid options and give them some extra stratagems or extra enhancements and really supercharge a couple of options. That's my kind of hot take for what's to come, I think, as the edition unfolds. And I think people should watch out for that. I think NIDs are strong, and over time, I think could be something to keep an eye out for. They will be lurking in the shadows.
yes.
And the warp will cast a wide shadow, and then when we least expect it, the Tyranids are going to turn up, and you're just going to be like, "Oh no!"
Oh my god, this is back. This is like bringing back like PTSD from 9th edition.
Yeah, exactly. That's my kind of putting on my tinfoil hat,
Yeah.
putting on the foil. That's my hot take with the foil.
So, going into the third place list, we have a Grey Knights list, which, before we get into it, is interesting because for those of you that listened to the pre-RTT event where we talked about sort of our hot takes on what we thought would happen, we talked a lot about the Grey Knights, actually, and we were just, essentially, the consensus was they're just not all there. There's just bits missing, especially when it comes to anti-tank, anti-big thing. But on this list, we have a third place, which is those Grey Knights, and before we came on, you were just talking about this list a little bit, and you were saying it's a nasty one to go up against.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting list. So I played against this in the run-up to the event, and Larry's, first of all, a very good player, and he's put a lot of time and effort into understanding this as well, and again, kind of working on it and tweaking it. But essentially, when he deploys this list, he only deploys something like 4 or 5 units, and then he has a couple of units in deep strike. He's running around with essentially 30 Terminators in total, but 10 of them are the Paladins Terminators.
Yep.
So like the really, really tough, really fighty, really killy Terminators.
Yep.
And he has like the Banner Ancient, and he's got the Narthecium built in, so they can like pick a guy up every turn. And I can tell you that, see, when you as an opponent go to be pointing your big scary tank at a unit thinking, cool, I'm about to kill a bunch of Terminators here, and he just goes, yeah, nah, I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to pick them up, put them back in reserve, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, so I've nothing to shoot and I've nothing to charge. So
Yep.
I now can't. I've moved into the open with my units. I've not made it onto the objective, and my target's gone, and it's going to come back in his turn, wherever
Right.
it wants to go. And
Perfect.
I've now made space for this to happen.
Yeah.
And he gets to do it again and again, and then he's able to bring them in, and he was just everywhere. And then every time I thought I was killing Terminators, it's like, this one's just going to regen behind the wall. This one's just going to regen back onto this objective, or regen forward to just close the gap. And then you go, okay, cool. And then you go shoot it, and what happens? It disappears again. So yeah, and if you don't understand the trickery that Grey Knights are capable of, and somebody who does understand it and plays it well, you're just running in circles. And they just pick you off. It's death by 1,000 cuts. So it was really interesting because you were right. they don't have all these big things that you assume is going to like change the game state and dominate like the shooting or the fight phase. And it is very much a death by 1,000 cuts. They come away, they chip away, they come back, they maybe charge in from deep strike, or they come running through a wall that you couldn't see them through. You can't overwatch them. You're like, cool, boom, they're in your face, they kill you. You think you're going to get to go at them again? Nah, off the table, boom. No, they were. I think they were the real sleeper list at this event, and Larry's done really well with them.
Amazing. And what I like is that kind of idea that you have to kind of rethink how you're even playing the game going up against a Grey Knights list, because in your head you'll be like, okay, I'm going to charge that unit on that objective so I have enough people on the objective to maybe take it away or do something with that for when it comes back around to my turn or whatever. But if they're like, nope, you're not going to be getting on that objective with a charge because this unit, anything that you've done in the movement phase kind of becomes pointless because you don't actually know what might happen once you've moved all that stuff.
And I thought I'd been quite like smug in that game when I practiced against Larry. I had stolen his home objective like turn 2. I was like, cool, bring him in. I got my Terminators down turn 2, like, cool, I'm going to raise your home objective. Cool, you don't have a home objective anymore, and I've just like got all these extra points. And then all of a sudden we had my home objective and 2 other objectives left on the table, and I'm like, taking this back going, I couldn't actually get to fight the things on the other 2 objectives to impact the game enough.
Yeah.
And then late game he just comes in and just chewed me up. Like, and my Terminators did nothing because they couldn't get anywhere. So every time they tried to shoot, boom, they disappeared.
That's so frustrating.
It was frustrating is the understatement.
Yeah.
But no, it was really great to see as well, actually, that the top 3 were all undefeated on the day.
Okay, great.
So like that was really cool to see. And it would have been really interesting. Obviously, had this event run into 4 or 5 rounds, like who might have come out on top. Like there was somebody would have had to get paired up, and somebody would have had to get paired down, and it would have meant that we would have had a really interesting kind of final throw of the dice if this was a 2D event. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys do if they come to the next event.
Yep, the 2-day event.
And there's a few honourable mentions, by the way. So like. Alan Mandelson's been on an absolute run of late with Chaos Space Marines, and he was 4th placed with going 2-1. And who did he? He lost. I think he lost. He lost his last game. He lost, and I think it might have been one of the. No, he won that round. Yeah, he lost to Orcs early on. Aiden played, so like round 1, Alan kind of was unfortunate. What was it? Just pulling up the scorecard there. And Aiden's a very good player. And somebody who I thought... So Alan lost his first round by 2 points. And then went on to win the rest of his games. And Alan's been on an absolute run at Scotland events in the last few months playing with his Fabadon, his fabulous Abaddon, with his was it leopard print coat and stuff.
It's so cool.
It is quite a fabulous little army. But like definitely be honourable mention to Alan, who was nipping everybody's heels there and was unfortunate, I think, to drop points in that first round. Otherwise he'd have been a real contender that weekend.
Yeah. And well, it just sounds like it was just quite a fun weekend as well, and lots of like good players, and like you said, like this is a 1-day event. What potentially would have happened with 2 more games the next day would have been interesting. It sounds like those top 3 lists were still pretty strong, so whether much would have changed, the only thing that might have changed is they would have actually had to potentially play each other on those later times.
Round 4 would have been the mirror match, so round 4 would have been really interesting. Who is the better Gilliman? Is it Gilliman with infantry or Gilliman with tanks? And part of me really wants to see that. Who is the true
Which
Gilliman?
one wins?
Yeah. Because they have the same access to the same stratagems, they have access to the same like auras and abilities and benefits, and it would have been really interesting to see, like, do the vehicles have enough toughness to outlast all the infantry, or do the infantry have enough kind of shenanigans to like bring them down systematically? It would have been a fantastic game to watch, and one that we're going to have to try and push to see it happen, I think, in the future.
No, 100%. And we've got some big chat going on in the Twitch chat there. We've got people saying if it was a 2-day event that the custodians would have been there and Chung would have been taken down. I don't know. We have to see it, we can all say stuff, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, aye. Big talk from Derek.
we can all have big talk. What was quite interesting, I thought, was no Eldar in that top 4.
Yeah, so the highest performing Eldar was actually Lewis, who came 10th. So like Eldar came 10th. Eldar then came 13th, and then Eldar then came 16th. But collectively, what was it? 1.5. Lewis went 2-1, so he was the best playing Eldar player.
Right.
But Lewis ran into Chris and his Ultramarines at round 1.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Sorry.
But from then on, Lewis had a really good day, and it's just, I think what was interesting is we didn't have guys running the like top end Eldar lists that we've seen at previous events, like played by Brian, who's then gone on to win them. You could argue Brian's one of the best Eldar players in the world just now, with the way he's been playing with that faction. And it's there's a whole layers of things going on there. We're having access to the models, the time to build them, the time to practice with them. And so it was nice to actually see Eldar kind of take a wee kick here and there and tumble down the standings. But like Power Armor was big on the top 10. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the top 10 were all wearing some form of Space Marine Power Armor.
Oh wow!
So
the Imperium really came out on top.
Oh, big time! It was just really good to see. We actually, and as everybody would have saw in the last episode, like we had a really good spread of factions and players. We had a good mix of new faces, which is always good to see, and it's really exciting to know that we were able to sell out with so many people actually being at the real event that weekend down in London.
Yes.
So it's nice to know that if we can continue up with this kind of momentum, we can grow our events, and we know that there's going to be the people who are interested to come, and the numbers are there, and the kind of communities behind it. And I'm really excited to see that part kind of come forward for us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And speaking of the LGT, we have a special bonus episode happening on Thursday where we actually have Simone from coming to speak to us about their experience actually at the LGT, what that was like. That's going to be a super interesting conversation with a very skilled player, someone that's played a lot. Dave, tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, so Simone's friend of the club through Fulvio, and I've Simone's also, so he's one of the guys behind the Hive Mind podcast down south, part of Team Hive Mind. They are regulars at the big UKTC events, and Simone's if I can remember this rightly, at least last UKTC or ITC, he was either top 2 or possibly even number 1 Sisters player for a huge chunk, if not at the end of the season. He's a very die-hard Sisters player. He ran a very interesting Sisters list that we'll get him to chat about on Thursday. I don't understand it. I've heard him talk about it. I don't understand it. I'm hoping that when he talks about it again, I'll finally understand it.
Yeah.
But no, he went, was it, I think 4-1, placed in the top 100 of the LGT, which is no mean feat. That's a real tough thing to do, and an even tougher thing to do with the faction that he took. So I'm really looking forward to hearing kind of his stories and his experiences. I've been to UKTC events before, but I've never been to the LGT, and it's something I'm really keen to do probably next year if we can. Because I'm just really inspired. Like they've done some really good podcasts in the run up to the event and then after the event, and I've got some massive like FOMO from it.
Yeah.
Definitely missed out on an experience, and one that I'm really going to be championing at the club next year to like, let's do this. Let's be there. Let's be part of it.
Yeah.
It's the second biggest event in the world. There was almost 800, was 760 something people played in it.
Wow,
Like
that's
just
so huge.
like yeah, like 760 odd people playing Warhammer simultaneously in a massive venue. Like it just gets you excited.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to Thursday's conversation, hearing kind of as I say, his stories and his take on things.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, please join us on Thursday for that. And yeah, just another big congratulations to Reaper Wargaming, another great event, the RTT. We have another event coming up. Please sign up to it. Like, the more you compete, the more you challenge yourself, the better you're going to get. We have so much interest on our Discord with competitive play, and there's no way better to get yourself better at competitive play than to compete at things. So the Halloween event, especially for people who are really like, oh, I don't know about competition, oh, I'm really new to this. This is the event if you're new. Come along to this one. This you are going to get a lot out of. It's a much more relaxed version of the game, and it also is good for people that are potentially maybe don't have as many models, because you can't run multiple models anyway. You can only run one of all your characters anyway. So you don't need to have like three saboteurs if you're playing GSCs, because you're not going to be able to play them anyway. So that makes it very exciting. And you know what? It's just a bit of fun. Every Halloween event we've had 1K events. This one is 1750. They're all really fun. They're all just a really good laugh. Everyone's dressed up. Everyone's having a good time. And it's just good chat, as are all of our events. So if you're looking for tickets, please just get on our Discord. I think right now it's members only, so you're going to have to become a member, but there are loads of perks to becoming a member anyway. So please support the club, become a member, and yeah, come along to the events. We are now running 3 Mondays a month and
Yep.
every Friday. Is that right?
Yep, so we are 3 Mondays a month now. The only time we're not running is when there's one of our venues history talks on. And if things go to plan, when we get into 2024, into January, we'll be running every Monday, every Friday. And we'll be running one event every month, possibly two. If things like Douglas's Blood Bowl stuff kicks off, and as the club continues to grow, as you just said about members, like we're always looking for new members. Like the membership is there; it's never mandatory, but we have a bunch of awesome perks for being a member. Thing as you like this Halloween event being members exclusive. We've had previous members exclusive events. We have a massive delivery of really cool custom dice coming in the coming weeks, and they are exclusive to members only. But we will maybe be doing a wee prize and giveaway here or there linked with the podcast for people who do take the time to listen to what we have to say, and who maybe want to be a part of this community from further afield, and we'll maybe find ways to include you as part of that.
Yeah.
And one last little shameless plug on
Yeah.
that is we have things like merch.
Merch. Get it.
So yeah,
This, if you want to get it, you need to get it right now, because I'm not gonna lie, we're becoming famous. So you want to get it now while it's easy to get, and then it becomes like, oh, I got like a first edition hoodie, like you'll be walking around those LGTs looking like a total baller with your first edition Reaper merch, That's
Well,
all
if
I'm
you keep,
saying.
I mean, we've also, by the end of this month, we'll be taking delivery of our team tops for wearing at these kind of events. And
Oh,
I have to say, they are so nice. Like, I
yeah,
can't wait to like get them on and just like show them off.
yeah,
So if you want to find a bit more about stuff like that and be a part of it, and also for people to understand that, you know, the club is a non-profit group. A big part of what we do is about generating support for local communities and charities. As part of these dice that are on their way, we actually have 500 of those that we are automatically donating to a group down south of serving armed forces people who are in a Warhammer club, and they've just raised a massive amount of money for two great charities. And it's really cool to be able to like support them. Kind of gutted that the dice didn't arrive in time to get them to the event, but they're still going to get them afterwards.
right.
This is the joy of international shipping and
Always.
living in a post Brexit world. So
Yeah,
you just have to wait a little bit longer. But it's great to be a part of like that aspect of the community and knowing that every time you invest in our club, we invest in good causes and we invest in the community. You know, we can now fill, if we tried, and I counted this out just the other night, we can now set up 15 gaming tables. We can have
okay.
over 30 people playing simultaneously, and have enough terrain, space to play. And that doesn't include creating space for our Blood Bowl players and people to like share games on like really big tables. It's getting truly kind of inspiring to be a part of now. It went from just this like, oh, this will be fun, we'll have our club, we'll grow our organisation, and we'll grow into this thing. And it's now turned into this really powerful community that's generating a lot of positivity. We continue to get new people through the door, and like it's really humbling to see where we've come. And yeah, I really look forward to hopefully getting some more people signed up as members and including them in this journey with us.
Yes, no, 100%. And now we've got that Monday, Friday open. There is so much more option for you to play as well. And also, it's meaning that we're still getting huge numbers on those nights, but it's not selling out like within a 3 hour period or whatever was happening at one point, which is just
Yeah, well,
then that it's way more accessible for people to come along as well.
it got to the point where we sold 24 spaces for the club in 90 minutes one weekend before we
Yes,
moved to 2
it was
days,
crazy.
how do you plan that? Like on a Saturday morning, by lunchtime on the Saturday, you couldn't play Warhammer 7 days later. It was
Yeah,
insane.
exactly. Yeah, that is
But
crazy.
it was a great problem to have. Also, special shout out before we finish things up today to fellow founder and regular on the podcast,
Yes.
the Italian stallion, Mr. Fulvio. It was his birthday today. He's
Happy birthday.
still been busy in the background doing stuff for the club. He was told to take the day off, but hey, oh,
Can't help himself.
no, he's a glutton for punishment.
But yes, thank you so much for being part of today, whether you're listening live or you're picking this up on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please like, subscribe, share. It is massive for us. If you are on Twitch and you have Prime, please use your free Prime Gaming sub if you haven't already on us. It really helps. It really helps to just keep everything going, keep bringing great experiences, keep making sure our competitions are great and well organized for you all. If you're wondering, how do I even sign up for games? How do I become a member? Down below in the descriptions, you can find our Discord. Everything is on that Discord community. Everything you need is on there. If you're like, yo, I've never used Discord before, don't worry. It is super easy. And if you need any help with that, you can contact us on any social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and we will help you set all that stuff up. And make sure that you are able to book in and all that kind of stuff. We know that maybe not everyone has used Discord before, and that's okay. And we'll help you with all of that stuff. got a great committee of people that are super open and ready to help anyone with anything around that as well. But without further ado, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you here again in just a couple of days, talking about their London Grand Tournament, which will be really interesting, really super excited about that. Please join us. Great to see so much chat in Twitch. It's really fun to be able to be doing this live now and having all this great chat going on at the same time. That's really, really exciting for us. And yeah, we'll see you on Friday or Monday in person if you're coming down to game and roll some dice with us, and may all your rolls be sixes. And we will, unless your name is Sam, because I can't get over that game we had last Friday.
I know. I heard what happened there. He got a kicking off me and took it out on you. So that's
Sam. I cannot believe how many there were. But Sam played an amazing game, and it's great to see the new Death Guard doing just stuff. You know what I mean? Just their shenanigans, just being big units. But yes,
on that bombshell.
On that bombshell. I will speak to you all soon, and thanks for listening.
See you guys. Thank you.